The memory of my mother introducing him into our lives is etched into my mind forever. I was 15, and for the first time since my father's passing had left a void in our home, I saw a genuine light of joy in her eyes. "Anno, I'd like you to meet Mark," she said, her voice quivering with hopeful anticipation. He offered a smile and a box of luxurious Belgian chocolates. "Hello there, little one," he greeted me, his handshake unpleasantly clammy, his eyes holding mine for a moment too long. For the first few months, everything appeared idyllic. He prepared our meals, assisted me with my math homework, and never failed to present my mother with fresh roses every Thursday. Then the unsettling coincidences began, each one sending a chill of dread through my body. The first undeniable moment happened one Saturday at lunch. With my mother out of the room doing laundry, we were alone. As he handed me the salt shaker, his fingers intentionally and slowly traveled up my leg. "My apologies, little one," he said, but his eyes held a predatory gleam that betrayed the casual words. I recoiled, my face burning with a flush of shame and anger, while he simply watched with that same unsettling smile. Not long after, another event unfolded. I was concentrating on a school project on the living room sofa when he approached and sat down, his leg pressing firmly against mine. "What's keeping you busy, little one?" he asked, draping an arm around my shoulders. His fingers then began to inadvertently trace patterns on my back, drifting steadily lower. A wave of heat rushed to my face. Muttering an excuse about needing the restroom, I snatched my laptop and fled, my heart hammering violently against my ribs. The nights became my personal hell. I began waking in the early hours, consumed by the certainty of a presence outside my bedroom door. Initially I dismissed it, but one night, I summoned the nerve to investigate. Through the narrow gap in the door I saw him. He was motionless in his pajamas, arms folded, his gaze fixed intently on my door. He would remain there for what felt like an eternity. I would retreat to my bed, pull the covers over my head, and lie there paralyzed with fear until the sound of his footsteps finally faded away. I began documenting everything in a secret, password-protected file on my phone. March 12th. Outside my door again from 2:17 a.m. until 3:45 a.m. His breathing was heavy. At one point, he pressed his forehead against the wood. March 15th. While giving me a teacup, he deliberately brushed his hand against my chest. Offered a hollow sorry. March 20th. Commented on my seductive lips as I exited the bathroom. Mom was nearby but didn't overhear. March 25th. Entered my room without knocking while I was changing. Stood staring for several seconds before leaving silently. When I finally worked up the nerve to confide in my mother, she dismissed my concerns. "You're letting your imagination run wild. He is nothing but wonderful to us. He provides for your English tutors, takes us on vacations." Her denial cut deeper than any of Mark's invasive stares. I felt utterly isolated and betrayed, as if I were suffocating within the walls of my own home. A turning point came from an unexpected place. A school lesson. Our school psychologist, Ms. Irina, was leading a discussion that initially seemed theoretical, understanding and upholding personal boundaries. Yet, her every word resonated with a painful, familiar truth. When an adult's actions or words make you feel unclean, frightened, or ashamed, remember this. The fault is never yours, she stated, and her gaze seemed to find me directly in the crowd. Your body is your sovereign territory. No one is permitted to cross its borders without your consent. After the class, my legs unsteady, I approached her. "Ms. Irina, I need help," I managed to whisper, and the floodgates holding back months of tears finally broke. Without a word, she took my hand and guided me to the safety of her office. The following day, surrounded by the gentle hum of the aquarium in her cozy office, I poured out my entire story. Each sentence was a struggle. I described the intentional touches, the terrifying nightly vigils, the constant feeling of being hunted. When I showed her the digital diary, My hands trembled so violently I could barely navigate to the file. Ms. Irina listened with her full attention, never interrupting. Her calm, focused presence gave me the strength to continue. When I finished, she leaned forward and said gently, "You have shown incredible bravery, Anno. What you have endured is a criminal act. But you must know that you are not alone in this fight. We will put a stop to it together." The meeting with my mother at the school started as I feared. "This is a terrible misunderstanding. Mark is a good man. Look at everything he does for our family," she protested, her voice rising in panic. She looked at me with an expression of pure betrayal. But then, a social worker quietly laid the printed pages of my diary on the table. My mother fell silent as she began to read. March 12th. Stood by the door again from 2:17 to 3:45 a.m. March 15th. Purposely touched my breast while handing me a cup. March 20th. Said I had seductive lips. When her eyes reached the entry about him walking in on me, her hands started to shake. He spends hours outside her room at night," she whispered, her voice crumbling, the world as she knew it visibly shattering around her. In that moment, I saw a profound shift in her eyes. She was finally confronting the horrifying reality I had been living. Mark was arrested that very night. A police search of his phone revealed a hidden gallery of hundreds of photos of me, taken secretly through my bedroom door. We later discovered he was already on a suspended sentence for harassing another young girl. Testifying in court was an immense challenge. I had to face him, recount every horrific detail, and feel his gaze upon me. But when I looked back at him, I felt not fear, but a newfound power. The terrified girl hiding under her blankets was gone. In her place was a witness, determined to see justice served. I'm 17 now. My mother and I have spent the last year in intensive therapy, painstakingly rebuilding the trust that was broken. Our relationship remains delicate, a work in progress. Sometimes she still comes to my room at night, sits on the edge of my bed, and clasps my hand. "Please forgive me," she whispers, her eyes filled with a profound sorrow. And I do forgive her. Not because her actions were excusable, but because I have chosen to free myself from the weight of anger and live my life in peace.